Week 3 is officially in the books. Welcome to another episode of The Only Playbook. Thank you guys for joining us. We want to recap Week 3 today. It's Sweet Car. I got Shovit. How are we doing?
Doing great. Feeling good.
Yeah, I'm excited. Should be a fun little review session.
Yeah, a lot of action, a lot of great games. Vikes picking up their first dub. Hell yeah, Skull Vikes.
Mm-hmm.
We'll jump right into all the games, but first, we really appreciate all the engagement we've gotten on Twitter and Instagram with the questions that you guys are sending in. We'll try to reference them throughout the games as we get to the game. But shout out to you guys. We'll talk more about that. YouTube, Spotify. We're on Apple Podcast now.
That's right. For all you iPhone holders, we can now listen to us on a podcast.
Yep, Apple Podcast, Google, Spotify, again, Anchor FM, and then we're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. So engage with us, follow us, keep our alerts on. We're always trying to put out stuff to help you guys. So appreciate the support thus far. Let's keep it coming. First things first, Week 3 is officially in the books. Let's talk and highlight some of the key injuries. Take us away.
Okay, start things off with Gronk. He's got some rib contusion. X-rays were negative, so he's likely going to play this week. Nothing to worry about there for Gronk owners. Darrell Henderson Jr., hopeful to be back this week. T.Y. Hilton, not yet ready to be back from his neck injury, but I suggest you look into that situation because I know a lot of people are having some injuries already, like players like A.J. Brown and all that stuff. They're already getting hurt, so you might want to spread that spread your bench open a little bit. So add that TY guy because he might be a factor in this unproven wide receiver core. J.C. Horn, the cornerback for the Panthers, he's officially on the IR. So that strong unit the Panthers were running with the first 3 weeks, that might be of a concern because they do play the Dallas Cowboys upcoming week.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah, so Amari Cooper's probably like licking his chops right now. J.C. Horn's out with a broken foot in the IR.
James could be in the OR.
Yeah, maybe. James White, he has a hip subluxation, same thing Fitzpatrick had, similar, and he's headed to the IR. So I don't know what they're going to do with that situation. He was getting a lot of the targets, helping out the rookie quarterback, so someone's going to have to step up there. Juju has a rib issue. I feel like this is the season where you have so many rib issues out of nowhere. I'm not sure if I've seen. You would think, right? Football, you get hit in the ribs.
Yeah. Feeling like Chili's over here.
Baby back. But yeah, Juju is day to day. They need him back badly, especially looking at the situation on how the offense is running in Pittsburgh. Juju would be greatly appreciated. CMC, hamstring.
Rip.
Not going on the IR. So that's a great news for everybody, especially CMC owners like my guy right here on the right.
Oh, yeah.
So he's not going to the IR. He's probably going to be gone for maybe 2 to 3 weeks, 3 weeks latest. We'll just have to keep an eye on that. And leading from CMC to
Thursday Night Football, the CMC Carolina Panthers were at the Houston Texans. We had started our last podcast and we were recording during this game, so we want to hit on this game. Panthers take this one 24-9 final. The Panthers cover their spread -8 and the under hits at 43. Panthers now 3-0. 3-0 in the early season. Texans dropped to 1-2. CMC was the big story, right? CMC getting hurt.
Yeah. Great
news that he's not headed to the IR, so just going to be a temporary, Band-Aid for people that don't have him in their lineup the next couple of weeks. But Chuba Hubbard is the backup there now. Mm-hmm. What's to like about Chuba Hubbard, and why should people maybe, chill on the Chuba Hubbard train a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Chuba Hubbard, he's going to get the carries, right? Yeah. He's going to take all of the carries that CMC had, and he'll be part of that offense. So that's good. But is he really that good? And
yeah, he's not that good. We watched the game last week. He dropped his first target. He was running into holes that weren't there. He broke 2 of them free. So that kind of looked good on the stat sheet, but otherwise he did not look very good. But what are you going to do? It's you're getting CMC's replacement here. What more do I have to say? The targets are going to be there, So this is not like the Elijah Mitchell situation where they're running the ball all the time. Targets aren't guaranteed up there, and they have a bunch of different running backs. Whereas here, his only concern is Freeman at this point, and I think they just signed Duke Johnson.
Okay. So who's always been more of a pass catching back anyways, right?
Yeah. So he might take some of Chuba Hubbard's Bubba Tubbas, but I don't think he's going to be Duke Johnson's going to be that relevant that quickly. Mm-hmm. It'd be pretty impressive if he was, but Chuba Hubbard's a pretty solid pickup this week.
Volume.
Yeah.
Name of the game.
Yep.
For sure. I almost wanted to say maybe look at Royce Freeman, but that Duke Johnson pickup just kind of makes it a little bit more difficult to stash Royce Freeman now.
Yeah, Royce Freeman didn't get much love last game. He did some weird dives. Was that him? That wasn't him, was it?
I don't think that was him.
No, that wasn't him. But yeah, Royce Freeman, he was always thought of as a really good running back when he first started, when he first came into the league, and then he just shut that down for himself. He just has never played well.
Yeah. Disappointment at the Broncos. That's why Lindsey took over that job, and now, again, he's already becoming a journeyman, and I'm sure he's only like 25, 26. He's got to be pretty young.
Yeah, Peyton Barber's his best friend right now.
yeah, exactly. Sam Darnold, let's hit on him. 304 yards, didn't turn the ball over, right? No interceptions, and just kind of was accurate, right? Made the throws that needed to be there. Hitting our boy DJ Moore, who's become a fantasy stud.
Yeah.
Absolute
top
stud.
10?
Top 10 receiver. I mean, solidified number one receiver on that Panther staff who'd been severely lacking in that department.
Yeah.
And so that's impressive, right, to watch. He had, again, 12 targets in an offense that you usually don't see one guy get that unless you're CMC.
Right.
8 for 126. And so that's impressive. Not a ton of love on the Texans side, but I want you to talk about your boy Cooks.
Yeah, Cooks. Oh, my goodness. What a great pickup for fantasy-wise. He's been getting the targets no matter who the quarterback is. David Mills is out there, rookie quarterback, threw a touchdown. And
what pick did you draft him with?
I want to say 8th.
Something like that.
Yeah,
right?
something.
He was in that Antonio Brown category.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been a
he's
blessing.
been a pleasant surprise. Again, we knew the Texans were going to be huge question marks, but we thought Tyrod Taylor was, we thought maybe Deshaun Watson could have been that guy, right? Then that was shut down. Then we're like, okay, Tyrod Taylor can get the job done.
Yeah.
And so maybe Cooks will be viable, but he was better than viable. And then Tyrod Taylor goes down. And I think it's Davis Mills, not David.
Davis Mills.
Davis,
you're right. Yeah.
Davis Mills, a rookie quarterback, but in a class of so many big name rookies that he's kind of a nobody, gets thrown into the fire, and Cooks still produces.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know. I like Cooks a lot. He's done amazing, but it would be kind of ridiculous to expect this out of him every week. I would think, especially with the rookie quarterback, maybe. It just makes me wonder because that was such a surprise. Cook's first few weeks, it wasn't really a surprise because he's the only good wide receiver on our team who's going to be struggling, right? So he was going to get the volume. But to get the volume with the rookie quarterback starting last minute, you know what I mean? Like, that was really impressive. And he was going deep with the ball. Rookie quarterbacks don't go deep with the ball, So, I just wanted to point that out because, historically, players like Cook, who are not possession receivers,
they're usually boom or bust guys.
Yeah, so 12 targets for one of those guys, with a rookie quarterback, it's like all kinds of surprises right now. So I'm just tempering my expectations a little bit, but let's see if Cook can have his best year ever now.
Yeah. Again, that would be impressive. And again, like we talked about, doesn't matter who the quarterback's been. For some reason, they're going to Cooks. And so if he stays producing, then you stay playing him. But something to watch kind of later in the season. But the Panthers take that home. Again, they moved to a surprising 3-0 early in the season. Yeah. Tough division, so it's great to get ahead there.
Real quick, the Panthers are also 8-0 and allowing 21 points or fewer since last year.
Wow.
And now they have a much better defense. But I did mention earlier they did lose J.C. Horn, who was the reason they weren't really getting exploited down deep,
Yep.
And guess who they play next week?
The Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Coming to Jerry's World?
Oh, man. I don't know if they're coming to Jerry's World. I think they are. I don't know.
I think it might be here. I think it's going to be here. Yeah.
Back-to-back home games?
Yeah, I think so. That's going to be a tough test for them. I don't know. Again, star cornerback goes down in that, receiving core of the Dallas Cowboys, and so should be an intriguing matchup. But let's move right on to the next game on the board. The Indianapolis Colts were at the Tennessee Titans. Titans take this one 25-16 final. Titans cover their spread 4.5, and then the under hits again at 47. Titans move to 2-1. Colts drop to 0-3. What's been the recipe for success here?
For who?
The Tennessee Titans.
I mean,
man.
Do you even call that a good recipe for success? But yeah, you're right. There's only one name here to be even talked about, and that's Derrick Henry. The Titans are 20-0 when Derrick Henry has 24 or more touches in a game. So you're telling me you just let the guy touch the ball 25 times and they just win the game.
I bet analytics and stat nerds are going crazy right now because you have a sample size of, almost a season and a half in numbers that prove that if you just give him the ball this many times, they never lose.
Right.
They never lose. Right. So why don't you just do it every time?
Even when he was having a bad day, you're looking at this stat. You just have to keep giving him the ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that really makes sense because last week I had questions about why the Titans were running the ball down 30-16 in the fourth quarter.
There you go.
And they came back and won.
Yeah.
And there you go. I mean,
For-
holy cow.
When you have when you get a guy like Julio Jones and AJ Brown, like that beginning of the season, we're like the Titans are probably going to be the best offense in the
one
NFL.
Of the best, yeah.
So I mean, Tannehill, decent quarterback, doesn't have to put that much load on Derrick Henry.
Right. He actually didn't have to put that much load on anybody. He threw the ball. I think he hit like 12 different receivers. Do you even have 12 pass catchers in a team? I don't know. So that's pretty crazy. He's moving the ball around, keeping the defense guessing, just giving Derrick Henry the ball, and that seems like the best way to do this because they didn't even have AJ Brown, and and Julio Jones was on a time management or what's it called? Time load?
Load management. Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard treatment. So, they clearly knew they didn't have to abuse their receivers in order to win this game, and it ended up being correct.
Yeah, and AJ Brown being hurt, right? AJ Brown is now injured, and that probably shoots Julio Jones's draft stock or I guess fantasy stock up.
Mm-hmm.
And then talk to us kind of a little bit on the Colts side with this running backs and question marks.
Yeah, I mean, my whole thing is how bad does your backup have to be for a guy with no ankles to be out there throwing the ball? I mean, he didn't look. He wasn't mobile. He didn't look mobile at all, and it was not good.
Yeah, their offensive line is so bad, and you got a guy with no ankles in the backfield. I want to talk to somebody here.
He ain't got no ankles.
You know what I'm imagining? The minute you said no ankles, I'm imagining. How whenever people can pretend to be short, they take their shoes off and they put their knees in their shorts.
There you go.
I'm imagining Carson Wentz just running around.
I'm gonna make a meme out of that.
Like that. No ankle Carson, man. No ankle Wentz. But dude, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. A guy as injury prone as Carson Wentz injures both ankles, right? And the turnaround to play right away when you don't really have to rush him because the Colts aren't very good still. I don't know. Yeah, again, backups must be absolutely dog shit there.
Yeah, he's lost his last 7 starts, so things are not looking good for Colts and Carson Wentz there.
Yeah, talk to us about the Colts running backs. I know that's kind of a topic.
So let's tell them about the our question we received via Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
We had Ben Tillman.
Shout out Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben. He tweeted us. Would you rather have Jonathan Taylor or have Joe Mixon rest of the season? So what do you guys think about that?
Show it.
I'm going to pick Joe Mixon.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's the sole running back there. He's going to get the carries, not targets in terms of PPR passing catches and things like that, but he'll get the yards and touchdowns. So I think I'm okay with picking Mixon. Jonathan Taylor has had 12 red zone attempts and 0 touchdowns to show for it. So for that reason, I'm sticking with the guy who's done it in the past 3 weeks.
Yeah, I will say Joe Mixon's been a pleasant surprise. A lot of people, again, overlooked him in the draft. But I'm going to actually go Jonathan Taylor. Marlon Mack just is requesting a trade, right? Not that they've really shared loads or anything, but
that just further solidifies their trust in Jonathan Taylor.
It shows the vision of the Colts and what they already see in Jonathan Taylor that they made another back who had 1,000 yards the year he started. I think is expendable now. So Jonathan Taylor is younger. Jonathan Taylor is in a system that's designed to run the ball more, I think.
And they catch the ball kind of like the Lions.
Yeah, and they're big on throwing to their running backs. And I know they have Hines, but Taylor still gets his share of catches.
When it comes to running the ball, Hines literally does nothing.
Exactly.
It's just all Taylor. But yeah, I think it actually helps Taylor's case that Hines comes in because that's just some breathers that he doesn't have to wear himself down for. And the best reason why I would choose Taylor over Mixon in the situation is the rest of the season's strength of schedule. It's actually nuts. Indianapolis has the second easiest schedule for running backs, and now that we're talking a running back who gets 20 rushes a game possibly with 6 targets a game, that just screams fantasy points.
Yeah. Again, the debate here is that both teams or both players are actually good.
Yeah.
Right? Mixon's been a pleasant surprise.
Oh yeah.
Taylor's good, and so again, I don't think you can go wrong. But sheer numbers, strength of schedule is huge. I think that's a big key factor there.
And Shobit mentioned earlier today, Jonathan Taylor had over 12 goal line carries, resulting in no touchdowns.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can look at this 2 different ways. You can be like, wow, this guy sucks. He's not going to get in the end zone. Or you can look at it how those stats were just 3 weeks worth of stats. A running back getting goal line carries
at that pace
by week 3, oh my God, you know how many running backs are drooling right now to be Jonathan Taylor?
How many running backs get vultured in those situations?
Right. So this man, even if he's not getting in there, the team trusts him to getting rid of another player like him on the team. And it's only week 3, 12 goal line carries. That's just going to get higher and higher. A couple of the reasons he didn't score last week was because Wentz threw a 1-yard interception and then another goal line problem. They weren't like 4 and out.
Yeah.
So they're getting to the goal line. Clearly, they're getting there. And I think that's going to continue even with their weird play calls and two to no ankles in the backfield. So, yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with Mixon or Taylor here. But if he made us choose, we've made our choices.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, again, Titans take that one, move to 2-1. Colts 0-3. The Atlanta Falcons, your boy, D-Rudge?
Yep, D-Rudge, shout out ATL.
D-Rudge's Atlanta Falcons were at the New York Giants, the early season Toilet Bowl edition, battle of 0-2 teams. The Falcons pulled this one away 17-14. Falcons covered their 2.5-point spread. They were 2.5-point dogs. And another under hits on the board, under 48 hits. Like we talked about, early season Toilet Bowl, there were some glimmers of highlights and optimistic outlooks here. Who wants to kick us off? What did you like?
Yeah, I loved watching Cordarrelle Patterson. I mean, as 6 receptions, 7 targets. I mean, the guy's just been,
He beats you every which way.
Yeah.
There's nothing he can't do.
Yeah, so.
Maybe throw the ball.
He's a unicorn.
Yeah, and then running back on the other side of things, Saquon Barkley. You're looking for something, some glimpse of hope,
yep.
And you want that from a team like Atlanta Falcons, and you got it.
Yeah.
Right? He scored a touchdown.
A lot of there was a lot of people giving up on Saquon after the first 2 weeks. So I'm happy for the owners. I'm happy for Saquon. I'm happy for the sport. It's good to see a possible best running back in the league get his points.
Yeah, and he also had 7 targets. So,
when healthy, Saquon is...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's really... I mean, he's up there.
He's literally up there. I mean, I would put him... You could make the case that he's the best running back in the league when healthy.
Yeah, you can.
But, yeah, so, again, glimmer of hope on that side, right? One thing I wanted to note with the Falcons, we kind of touched on it. Last week's episode, I talked about how I was buying into this player this week, and he delivers another really, really lackluster performance. Kyle Pitts, drafted 3rd overall as a tight end. You don't really see tight ends go that early unless they're surefire locks, which I know nothing is, but for a position that's so cream of the crop, right, top heavy, when you draft a guy that early, you're like, this guy is literally just, on a tee, on a silver platter, going to be a hit. There's no boom in that, or there's no bust in that, excuse me.
Right.
And we haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
So, historically, no tight end has ever come into the league and just been great. They've always been more of a blocking situation kind of back. And I think this is because it takes a lot for a tight end to be great in the NFL. You have to be able to be an elite blocker. You have to be an elite catcher. You have to go to the
route runners.
Yeah, you got to go to the film room with the offensive linemen. You got to go to the film room with the tight ends. You got to get to the film room with the wide receivers. So maybe it's just a rookie learning curve, and I think that's what I would bank on if that was the case.
A lot more responsibilities in the NFL, I would imagine, especially when you're like the star player at like a Florida where all they want you to do is go deep and just throw you the ball. Yeah, you got to learn schematics, so many other things. So, yeah, you very well could be right. We're not writing him off or anything. It's just disappointing that even the volume isn't going down.
Right. I mean, only 3 targets in that last game. So you definitely want to see more, at least give him a chance to get the yards, and you're not seeing that. So
playing the 3rd most snaps on offense in week 3 behind Ryan and Ridley, and so he's on the field, right? They're just not looking his direction, whether he's blocking more, whether situationally the plays aren't being called for him or they're not designed for him. But I don't know, that's an interesting thing. But yeah, again, when you're 0-2 and searching for answers, you try to get your 3rd overall pick involved however you can, right? So that's kind of what we expected, but that wasn't there.
So D-Rudge did ask us a question that he would want us to answer. What do you guys think? Are the Panthers the best team in the NFC South?
No.
No.
Yeah, no. That's a hard no. That's a hard no. I think we're going to see the true colors of the Panthers here next week. They're going to have to keep up with the high-powered Cowboys offense without one of their best cornerbacks. And there's also a guy named Tom Brady down there somewhere in that division.
The Bucs are the best team in that division.
And Sean Payton, I don't even call them the Saints anymore. It's
Sean
just the
Payton.
Sean Payton.
Yeah. You can never write them off.
Yeah.
Huge pleasant surprise for the early season Panthers, right? It's nice to get 3 wins early on and be ahead of the curve, but they're going to regress to their mean. It's Sam Darnold under the helm. McCaffrey's hobbling right now, so there's a lot of question marks, and the defense has been formidable. You gave us a stat on how many points they allow and what their record is over and under that. But you have your shutdown corner, your top 10 draft pick corner get injured, head to the IR. I mean, that's gonna put a damper on your defense.
Yeah, it is. Their strong point has been the whole defense, so that's a good sign for them. Not only are their cornerbacks playing well, but this guy named Brian Burns, he's got 1+ sack in 5 straight games now. That's the longest. That's tied for the longest in Carolina history. Julius Peppers used to play for the Panthers, and the defense has had 14 sacks this season, which is tied for the most through the first 3 games of a season in team history. So they're playing lights out defense. But yeah, this is, like, we mentioned this multiple times throughout our podcast, but it's been 3 weeks, guys. It's been 3 weeks. There's some teams that look bad through 3 weeks. There's some teams that look good through 3 weeks, but I can guarantee you that there's a really low chance that they're going to play that exact level here out in 3 more weeks.
Yeah. Regress to the mean is, I think, what, as a consensus outside of Panthers fans, most people expect. Maybe even some logical Panthers fans.
Yeah.
So
Well, some things for Panthers fans to get excited. The last time they were 3-0 was 2015, and they went to the Super Bowl.
Nice.
Super cam. And then I know Dheeraj asked another outlandish question, but go ahead.
What was the question?
Will Matt Ryan be a top 10 QB this season?
Yeah, that's a no. Let's go to the next segment.
I don't even think that's a debate.
Sorry, Dheeraj. I don't even know why you asked that question. Your left tackle's a rookie who's getting just destroyed. You're having to use Kyle Pitts as a blocker because he's realizing now that defensive ends are the best player on defense, and he has to face them every play. So there's a lot going on here against Matt Ryan for him to be top 10 because, like, you can even argue, like, Jalen Hurts on a really, really bad day.
There's too many quarterbacks now that use their legs that are, might put up shitty numbers on an NFL score sheet, but are fantasy relevant, and Matt Ryan does none of that.
No. Yeah, the running quarterbacks, their floors are like minimum of 4 points.
Yes.
Just because of 40 yards rushing, So Matt Ryan, maybe top 15, maybe 15, maybe 14.
We're still being too nice to Dheeraj.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my go here. Atlanta Falcons are not going to do that well.
Yeah. But they do win this one. First win of the season. Maybe those are going to be scarce, so enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
Amazing matchup here, right? The next game we want to talk about, this was one of the most fun games on the board. I really, really enjoyed watching this one. The LA Chargers were at the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, insane matchup. We had great quarterbacks, great offenses, everything. The Chargers actually win this one at Arrowhead, 30-24. Chargers moved to 2-1. Chiefs dropped to 1-2. And Chargers cover their 7-point spread. There were 7-point dogs on the road. Cover that spread, and then another under hits. The final score was 54 total points, and the under was 55.
Wow.
So a close one, but that is another under on the board. I want to start us off just because this is a little fantasy homerish for me. Justin Herbert was phenomenal. Just one of the best games I've seen him have. Chiefs defense, so many question marks. They're just bad. Everybody's running open. They're really, really bad. I don't think they can stop anybody. They're going to need a lot of changes. But Herbert was phenomenal. And, I mean, let's talk about it while we can. Mike Williams might have been the steal of the year 3 weeks in.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what round do you get him? Like 10th, 11th, probably?
I could probably go back and look, but it's very, very low.
Yeah.
It's very, very low. He puts up another monster game, right? 7 catches, I think 122 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Most by fantasy receivers this season or this week. So another insane game for him. Eckler, Allen do their thing. But I guess I want to talk more about the Chiefs side of the ball. Some things to highlight. Kelsey doing Kelsey things. Hill, another, not so spectacular performance for an offense that's insanely firepowered. And then Mahomes did some Mahomes things, had that, unlucky interception, but then I thought that interception he threw in the fourth quarter was insanely un-Mahomes-like.
Yeah, he never overthrows people.
Yeah, never overthrows people. He's very situationally aware, right? And in that situation, tied on, I think, under 2 minutes, and you're deep in your own territory, I just don't think that's a ball you try to force in there. And that was the difference, because right after that, the Chargers ended up driving right down the field, and I think I remember that. They drove down the field. They actually went for it on 4th down because they were right outside field goal range, right?
Yeah.
They went for it, didn't get it, but pass interference was called.
Yep.
And then here's where I love what they did. You pretty much have the game won there at that point in the sense that most conservative teams and coaches would have probably run the ball, kick the field goal, win the game.
I would have done that.
They went right into their throats and scored the touchdown because you know who's on the other side of that football.
Patrick Mahomes. That's
so
right.
that is as ballsy as it gets.
I don't consider that ballsy. I call that ridiculous. Why would you give Patrick Mahomes time? It's the same thing that happened to Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers capitalized on it. You know, you just gave him that chance.
So I think you're right. You're absolutely right. I just think if they would have ran, they're not a run-first offense, first of all, right? Eckler is more of a pass-catching back, right? So that's probably not in their game plan schematically, and they just feel like if they run, I'm pretty sure the Chiefs did have timeouts, so they could have used all their timeouts and, in theory, would have still got the ball back, but only would have been a field goal lead.
Right.
And so, yes.
Also, you put the game in the kicker's hand, which could obviously go anyway. You never know.
Yes.
I think this is where we're seeing a lot of teams go for it on fourth down.
The new age era
where analytics, it's like, what's your percentage of chance if you get this and you win the game? Like it's a high percentage, and coaches are looking at that. They're going based off of that. So I think that has a lot to do with that decision that they made. But yeah, I mean, as far as the Chiefs look, the storyline's been turnovers, right? Turnovers from Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think Tyreek Hill had a fumble, and so they need to stop turning the ball over. They need to stop, basically
protect the football.
Yeah, exactly, and that's going to be
Tyreek Hill didn't have a football. Edwards-Helaire had another football this game.
Fumble.
I mean, what did I say?
Football.
He didn't have the football.
He didn't have the football. He lost the football. But yeah, you're right. Protect the football. The Mahomes interception, very unlike Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
He's going to make his spectacular plays. There's no doubt about that. There's been a lot of times where, again, an interception is because of a tip pass, which is not his fault. But the one at the end was definitely his fault. It was very, very costly. And again, the concern is the Chiefs obviously can score with the best of them, but when is that defense going to be able to stop anybody?
I don't know, man. I don't know. We're going to have to see because, they played a team like the Chargers, a divisional matchup. You would think they come in here with, like, some Chiefs energy,
Yeah.
The team that made it to the Super Bowl energy.
100%.
And,
home.
At home. And they didn't. This is the first time the Chiefs have lost 2 straight games in September since 2015. Mahomes is known as Mr. September. And it's just, this year it's just starting off a little slow.
Yeah, I mean, if you can stop Hill and Kelsey, are you going to have a chance to beat the Chiefs? Like, is that what it comes down to, basically? I mean,
well, there's a new guy in town.
This is true.
There's a new guy in town, and he comes with a lot of weed.
Shout out Josh Gordon, reinstated.
So yeah, good for him. Good for him. I think he's going to be a factor as long as he physically looks the same. Because I know he's hopped around some teams here and there. He hasn't really been an all-star in like 7 years. So yeah, as long as he gives some effort, because I think their other receivers are Robinson, Pringle, and I don't even know the name.
Yeah,
Meikle. Freaking Meikle. He had like 12 targets last game. But yeah, they're good at what they do. They're fast little dudes, but they're not all stars. Yeah. And I think that hope of just Gordon coming in, a bigger guy that can stretch the field while Kelsey and Hill are double teamed, and I think that's going to help out everybody on that team.
Yeah, that's just scary because you step right in, and like you said, if he's even remotely a Josh Gordon of the past, he's already the number 2 receiver on that team behind Hill, right? And he does everything that, Hill does everything, but he's a completely different type of player, just size-wise and everything. And at that point, it's like, who do you stop, Gordon, Hill, or Kelsey?
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane.
Maybe for fantasy purposes, just chill out on the Gordon thing right now because there's, you have plenty of people. But as far as Patrick Mahomes is considered, that's a huge plus for him.
Yeah, Meikle did have a touchdown last game, so he was one of those guys I was thinking maybe drop in because I'm not really seeing the volume. Yeah. But if Tyreek Hill and Kelsey are getting covered, I don't know how long it's going to take Josh Gordon to kind of get acclimated to the offense, but I really don't know what to make of Meikle.
Outside of that touchdown, he still hasn't really been too. I mean, yes, he had a volume. I think his targets had a big uptick, but I don't know. He's not doing.
You don't want to this early in the season. You probably still have a lot of healthy players.
Yeah.
I just don't see Hardman starting for anybody at any point right now.
Yeah.
Even later down the season, you'll get like 2 games with maybe a touchdown or 2, and then like 5 games with nothing.
Yep.
So Hardman is like a desperation move, but I mean, he's getting these touchdowns because somehow Tyreek Hill's getting covered.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It remains to be seen. I'm still not sold on him. I know I was high on him, but the way they're using him 3 weeks in, he was the benefactor of a touchdown, but he's not even doing like the basic wide receiver catches. Like he's not doing they're not giving him quick slants, right? They're not getting him involved in the offense. There's no play calls for Mecole Hardman, at least that we're seeing.
Right.
So it just doesn't make him fantasy relevant. But I don't know. Stash him on your bench still, I guess.
Yeah. I fully expect the Chiefs to bounce back next week, though.
Yeah, 1-2 again, second consecutive loss in how long? And so yeah, who are the? Do you know who the Chiefs are at next week?
The Eagles.
Oh my God, yeah, that's another disarray of a team. So yeah, it should be a good bounce back opportunity for them. Let's get right into the Cincinnati Bengals. We're visiting Chauvet's Pittsburgh Steelers. The Bengals take this one 24-10. Bengals moved to 2-1 on the season. Steelers dropped to 1-2. Bengals covered their spread. They were plus 2.5 point dogs, and another under hits under 42. Chauvet, Bengals.
Yeah,
you were giving us a lot of shit week 1 when the Vikings lost to the Bengals in overtime. At least we made that a game. Talk to us.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of injuries at the Steelers. So when you have 4 defensive guys that are not there, I mean, Highsmith, T.J. Watt, it's just
Bush and Hayden are back. So
that's true. That's 2 guys. But I mean, we had 0 sacks that game. Zero sacks.
Actually, it's not even just the sacks. You guys touched Joe Burrow once.
I mean,
why are we not sending blitzes at that point?
I think T.J. Watt just did a lot of it himself, and when he's not there, the rest of the guys
exposed.
are like,
they're getting exposed without T.J.
Yeah, so battle of the trenches, Bengals all the way. I mean, they won. They won that
with a team that we mentioned also was a huge question mark on the offensive line coming into the season.
Exactly.
So, I mean, that's very dominant on one side of the football. Burrow found Chase again for 2 more touchdowns.
Yeah, Chase is the only rookie in the next-gen stats era, so basically since 2016, to have deep receiving touchdowns of 20-plus yards in 3 straight games.
Damn.
So, I mean, first week it happened, we're like, let's see. Second week it happened, we're like, let's see. Third week it happened, what do we do now? Do we freak out? Is this Chase time?
So one of the touchdowns was just amazing. It was just a deep bomb.
Yeah, that deep bomb where he just kind of
stretches it. And,
some dig stuff right there.
Yeah, and he caught it, and that was like, okay, that's Chase doing Chase things. And Burrow just amazing pass. The second touchdown, Burrow had like 7 seconds in the red zone to throw the ball. No blitz, nothing whatsoever. Wow. And, Chase is going to get open when you have 7 seconds in the end zone. So there was that as well to add on. So not a lot of...
Sound like a lot of excuses to me here. I'm hearing a lot of injuries, which every team goes through injuries.
Damn.
And we expect a Steelers team that's run by Mike Tomlin, who has never had a losing season, who is defensive-minded, might I add, defensive coordinator, to adjust to a defense that loses their star player. But there were no adjustments made. Yeah. The Bengals dominated this from start to finish.
Actually, there is one bright spot for the Steelers.
Yeah.
Yeah, Najee Harris. He's looking like, dude, man, I wish my running backs got half of those targets.
19?
That's insane.
Yeah.
The last time I saw something like that was like Le'Veon Bell a long time ago.
Also maybe with the Steelers.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, it's crazy. His 60 touches this season are the most by a Pittsburgh running back through their first 3 career games since 1970. So that's
more than like Jerome Bettis and...
Yeah, dude, yeah. And a lot of it was an outlier of this game. Yeah. 19 touches, come on, that's ridiculous. And he caught 14 of them. Yeah. That's a PPR monster on a really poor offense at this point.
Yeah. And that's a product of the offensive line just being so bad that they can't run the ball with Najee, but hey, we need to give it to this guy who's breaking tackles.
Yeah, if Big Ben can't pass it down more than 5 yards... He can make it 5 yards with Najee Harris.
There's just so much disarray because the blocking sucks. Big Ben looks just half step slow. So the only thing he can do is dump it to Najee. And Najee fantasy owners are rejoicing right now. Just absolutely rejoicing because if he's getting even slightly this close to the level of volume for weeks to come, I mean, that's top 5 fantasy running back.
Can you guys make a prediction of a possible quarterback change by what week?
Calling for your boy.
By what week?
I'm going to say it's got to be 2 more weeks of terrible play.
If they go 1-4 and Big Ben is doing this, what he did with the Bengals, he does 2 more weeks. Is that it?
I feel like Tomlin, I don't know if he'll make that decision, honestly, but it seems like the right thing to do. You put Mason Rudolph, at least you gave yourself a chance to win, but, it's got to be 2 really bad games for them to do that.
I really, really dislike Mason Rudolph, but Big Ben is playing way worse than the level of dislike I had for Mason Rudolph.
Same. We had this conversation about how we felt about Mason Rudolph, and we were on the opposite ends of that. But I still think Mason Rudolph will be an upgrade over Big Ben right now because it's just sad. If Big Ben is hurt or if there's something going on, then at this stage in your career, don't try to be a man about it and like play through it. Like you're making the team so much worse. But if you're not hurt, then your career honestly might be over at this point.
I think it's a product of old age. There was a play that there's a highlight going around the internet where he just tripped over his own ankle. He's an NFL player. You don't do that.
He's literally moving at a slower speed than the rest of the game. Right. I think that's the best way I can boil that down.
Yeah, and their offensive linemen, I think 2 guys who got hurt last week as well. So not good signs and nothing to kind of say that maybe they'll bounce back.
That was the first time you guys had no sacks since you guys had like a 75-game streak with 1 sack, right? That was like the longest since 1963 or something. But now you've had no sacks for the first time in your last 76 games. So it's like
that's insane.
Yeah.
So it's like that JJ or TJ Watt not being there is like crucial.
The bread and butter is the defense. When the defense isn't there, I mean, there's really no hope.
That's definitely a concern. I mean, again, we talked about the Steelers hitting their team total over when we had our first episode 8.5.
Right.
And they won a game I thought they were going to lose, and now they've lost a game I thought they were going to win. So they've kind of evened things out again, and we'll see where they go from here. Speaking of, we talked about Joe Burrow getting sacked no times. This game had an insane amount of sacks. The Chicago Bears were at the Cleveland Browns. Justin Fields. We've been calling for Justin Fields since week 1, since day 1.
Go back.
Everybody's been calling for Justin Fields. Matt Nagy was like, he's not ready. He's not ready.
Right.
And he quite frankly was not ready.
He wasn't ready.
They lost 26-6. Bears dropped to 1-2. Browns are 2-1. Browns cover their spread at 7.5. Another under hits under 45. Every game so far we talked about the unders hit, by the way. Under 45 hits. Fields' first NFL start. I mean, the one stat that jumped out to me immediately.
Is it the 1 yard stat?
Yes. He was 6 of 20 for 68 passing yards.
Right.
He got sacked 9 times and lost 67 yards.
Wow.
So per the NFL, his net passing yards as a team or for him or whatever, 1.
1 yard. Yeah.
Yeah. Where's Andy Dalton?
No, I don't think it's a Justin Fields problem. I mean, if you're getting sacked 9 times, yes, like maybe 4 out of 5, like you're probably holding the ball for too long. But even then, like the coaches are just not calling the right plays. I feel like they're not putting him in the progression for him to be able to get that rhythm.
The thing is, like they've had like 150 days now to figure out how to use Fields since they drafted him, right? Like, not once did they realize that this is a completely different quarterback than Andy Dalton, and everything they programmed the team with Andy Dalton cannot be put into play here. It has to be a whole different offense. Matt Nagy is under so much heat right now for just so many different decisions, and maybe this one, maybe he was right. Maybe Fields not ready. But the thing is, you're an NFL quarterback or head coach. Your job is to prepare every player on that team. When you have 2 such dynamically different quarterbacks, you need to be able to know what Fields likes, what Fields doesn't like, and he didn't do any of that.
Right.
So it's like the fingers have been, they're just getting pointed all across that team right now.
Yeah. I don't care what anybody says. You can't put the blame on a rookie quarterback starting his first career game, right? He has, again, yes, he got thrown into the fire because Andy Dalton got hurt, but like you mentioned, 150 days, even if he wasn't getting first-team reps, even if it was Dalton, he's still learning the playbook. He's still getting the reps, and you still had a week to prepare now, right? So you could have at least altered the scheme to fit his, style of play, but you're right. The offensive line is abysmal, right? Fields does early season, and the one thing at Ohio State, because he's being protected by pretty much 5 NFL caliber players, he had all day to throw, right? So he would never feel the pressure. And so he does have a tendency to hold the ball too long, but he's an NFL rookie quarterback, first career start. You give him the benefit of the doubt with all the other stuff. I just don't understand how they don't put him in a situation to not just succeed, but just look so piss poor, just absolutely awful.
Yeah, and the coach hasn't named a starter, so it could be Andy Dalton, it could be Justin Fields, or it could be Nick Foles.
Yep, that's what he said.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how you draw up.
If you guys were the coach right now, just to win games, which quarterback are you putting in right now?
Well, Dalton's still hurt, right? Or is he good?
I'm putting in Foles.
Is Dalton still hurt?
I think he's still hurt.
If Dalton's still hurt, I'm putting in Foles. But this also raises my next question. What does that do to Justin Fields when you name him the starter? He has a performance like he has, probably the worst game he's ever played in the history of his whole life.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? and then you bench him.
Mm-hmm. But see, if you put him on there, right, and he develops some bad habits from having to like run, you're running away from all of the defensive line that's coming at you. I feel like he would progress a lot better if he stayed in the bench for a year and came back next year and then
Also,
and
we got to remember this was a Cleveland Browns defense. This wasn't just a regular NFL defense.
Right.
You got Garrett coming out one side. You got
4.5 sacks.
Dude, like this was the worst day to start.
Clowney 2 sacks. Garrett 4.5 sacks.
So I don't know who they play next week. We'll talk about that more on Thursday. If you guys know, let me know right now. But if not,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. This is just, it was not set up for success in any way or form. This was just going to end up like this. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, but it's not totally surprising either. For some reason, Fields only getting 1 yard of total offense or whatever. Mm-hmm. It's not that surprising for some reason.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, and I think everything that could go wrong went wrong because the Browns. The Browns took the early lead, right? The Browns were up 10-3, and then it was and then they led the entire way. So the Bears were never in a situation where they could let Fields just get into the flow of the game. They were playing from behind the entire game. Right. Their Fields is playing against a really good defense.
Right, just throwing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just everything situationally was just awful. And then the times they chose to run was so predictable, so Montgomery couldn't get anything going. It was just a absolutely disastrous performance. And the good thing about this is there's literally no way that Justin Fields could have a worse performance, or the Bears offense, let alone, could have a worse performance. Yeah. So it's only up from here. But
they're playing the Lions next week. So
there you go. Yeah. Everybody has a shot to play well against the Detroit Lions. So
it should be a shootout.
Let's talk about the positive side of things, the Browns. There's a lot to like about the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, basically, it's either a Nick Chubb show or a Kareem Hunt show. And I think last game, it was a Kareem Hunt show. So, Baker Mayfield doesn't really have to do much. 19 for 31, 246 yards, 1 touchdown, which is good.
Good numbers.
Good numbers, no interceptions. But, Nick Chubb, 84 yards, Kareem Hunt, 81 yards, and 1 touchdown. So, Browns are looking.
They ran it for really 215 yards, team rushing, right? 84, 81. Kareem Hunt also catches 6 for 74.
Yeah. And Odell came back, got 9 targets. Things are looking good in the Browns world.
Yeah, and next week things won't be looking so good for the Browns world because you know where they go?
Where?
The Minnesota fucking Vikings. Go, baby! Ride that 1 week high as long as you can, man. It doesn't last long. So the Browns, Browns impressive. Browns formula, again, situationally, the absolute nightmare for the Bears, and literally just another day in the office for the Browns. Browns doing Browns things, running the ball, playing defense. So Browns take care of that one. Again, move to 2-1. Bears drop to 1-2. Moving on to the Lions, we just talked about them. They were hosting the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar in town, and the Ravens actually pull away in this really, really close game, 19-17 final. Ravens moved to 2-1. Lions drop to 0-3. Lions do cover their 7.5 point spread. They were 7.5 point dogs, and another under hits, under 51. First things first, shout out to Justin Tucker.
Woo!
Yeah.
Justin Tucker is the best kicker in NFL history. I mean, does anybody really want to debate that?
No. Maybe Vinatieri if you're like old.
Yeah, sure.
But
still no.
Dude, he has a record now.
Yeah. Justin Tucker, I was listening to something. When you're a Vikings fan, it doesn't matter what kick, 20-yarder, 18-yarder, 15-yarder. You bring the kicker in, and everybody's holding their breath. Like, you're just like, oh, my God, this is it. When you have Justin Tucker, it doesn't matter what kick, 45-yarder, 55-yarder, 66-yarder. And I feel like more Ravens fans, more football fans, more anybody watching the game thought that would go in versus it miss. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I called it. I was like, that's going to go in.
And it's just crazy because it's literally the epitome of like when we talk about shooting a basketball and it hits the front of the rim and you get the shooter's roll and it's like a perfect bounce in. Justin Tucker kicks balls so perfectly that it hits the middle post and flings forward, like in the most perfect way, like as if it was a kicker's roll, like a kicker's touch.
Yeah,
and hits a 66-yarder to win the game.
the craziest part about that is like when you look at all the fans in the back, and the Lions fans are just so excited. They're like, he missed, and then it bounces like 30 feet in the air and rolls in with that kicker's touch. I like that, the kicker's touch, and then their heads are like, hands are behind their heads.
There's no way
shock and disbelief. And
there's no way a Vikings kicker would hit the post and it would roll forward. It would obviously come back.
Yeah, no way.
It would obviously come back. But Justin Tucker, again, best kicker of all time, 66 yards. He should get 6 fantasy points from that. That's stupid that he only gets 5, by the way. I don't know why they have a limit on that. Probably because no kickers really kick 60-yarders.
Yeah, they just don't.
But ESPN needs to change that. All stats should change that. There's no reason why it shouldn't. It just doesn't make sense. What else do you want to talk about?
Yeah, that's a lot of love for Justin Tucker there, but there's a lot of other players here. Lamar Jackson, it's like, I don't know what kind of game this guy will have. Like, anytime he touches the ball, he could have a game where he only throws for 150 yards and end up with 30 fantasy points. He can have a game where he throws for 400 yards and end up with 40 fantasy points. So it's like, as far as from a fantasy perspective, just Lamar Jackson, man, like, he's just going to do it. He's the first quarterback since 1950 with 250 rush yards in a team's first 3 games of a season. So he's just starting off hot. I feel like it's just going to get hotter. He gets some of his wide receivers back. I know Brown dropped like 3 possible touchdowns this game. But they get, I think, Bateman. He comes back soon.
Mm-hmm.
He's like running.
He's on the IR,
there.
So I think it's after 4 weeks, right?
Yeah. From the health perspective, I think he's getting healthy.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see how this turns out for them.
Yeah, Lamar is 100% like a fantasy must start. Even on paper, you see his stats, and they're not impressive because you're expecting like a quarterback type stats.
Yeah.
But you forget all the rushing. Or you don't forget, but you overlook the rushing. And again, he's putting up 30 points with like throwing in interception and completing 50% of his passes.
Right. It's amazing. Lamar Jackson has probably, I don't know what the stat is, but as far as comparing his numbers with Tom Brady's fantasy points, I mean, I'm sure they're very similar because of the rushing yards, right?
I mean, if not, Lamar Jackson probably more. Lamar Jackson probably more. Yeah.
Tom Brady's going to regress to the mean very shortly.
Yeah. Outside of Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews, right? Your boy.
Yeah. Finally had a good game.
5 receptions, 109 yards. So that's good. And then Swift, who in three games has 23 targets.
Wow.
Yeah,
we talked about our Lions guys loving to throw the ball to running backs.
Right.
They do.
Right.
They do. They don't have any wide receivers. So.
Yeah. Swift has become a good fantasy player. Yeah. I mean, he's.
Oh, dude. I mean, top 6, top 7 talks here. Like,
half point PP, especially in PPR. Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. He was probably the lone bright spot on that team. But the Ravens pull out a close one, go to 2-1. Lions drop to 0-3. Lions, I feel like, have played 3 decent games and still lost. First half good against the Packers, come back against the 49ers, and then this game where they pretty much won, right? And then they still lost. So, Brubble, I feel for you, man. That sucks. 0-3 Lions. And so the New Orleans Saints were visiting the New England Patriots, right? Saints actually pulled this one away 28-13 in rather, solidifying fashion, moving to 2-1. Pats dropped to 1-2. Saints were 3-point dogs coming in. That's why that score is so interesting. They covered the 3-point spread, and another under hits under 44. To me, the Saints defense is probably the story.
Yeah, Saints defense definitely the story because it's offense, not the story. Saints had 252 yards total. That's their fewest in a road win in the Sean Payton era.
Yeah, makes sense.
So they didn't have to do shit on offense. Nope. They just got the job done, got Kamara involved here and there, and they're playing against a rookie quarterback. And I don't know I've never looked this up, but I'm pretty sure Sean Payton versus rookie quarterbacks is a fun stat there.
Yeah, Mac Jones, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. One of the interceptions where Jonnu Smith just basically...
that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. It really makes me want to drop Jonnu Smith.
Yeah, like, what are you doing? Help out your team there. And so I think, Mac Jones just needs a couple more games to kind of get under the... progression, like understand the defense a little better. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, I don't know how well he throws the ball deep. I don't know if if there's like a deep ball threat with Mac Jones. Because I know they tried a couple of times. The last 3 games they weren't throwing it deep, and this game looks like they made the effort to do that, and we didn't really see that come to fruition.
They were playing from behind a good while, so they were throwing the ball a lot more. They did get Jacoby Myers heavily involved. He got 14 targets, but like you said, it wasn't very deep bombs. And we already knew this coming into this game. Mac Jones is not put into this team to be a gunslinger at this point.
Right.
Mm-hmm. He's put in to just win games, according to Bill Belichick, just run the ball and take victories with the defense. Pretty much the same formula as the Browns. It's just they're not as good as the Browns in either of those categories.
Right. Yeah, and again, they made life tough for Mac, right? 3 interceptions. You mentioned one was a Jonnu Smith drop. One, he literally got hit on, so the ball fluttered.
Right.
And then one was just a bad throw, right? And so, again, a mixed bag for him. He got sacked twice, and so it's tough. It's tough when you're a rookie quarterback and you're going against a Saints defense that we talked about is number 1 in fantasy football through 3 weeks, right? So the production is there. And you mentioned Myers, and another one was Bourne, actually. 8 targets, 6 for 96, and a touchdown. I know they were playing from behind. Mac had to throw the ball 51 times, but again, interesting to see kind of which way he goes even when he has to throw that much. But Saints take that one 2-1. Kamara, again, had a great Kamara-type game, and Taysom Hill always vulturing touchdowns. So Saints 2-1, Pats 1-2. The Arizona Cardinals were at the Jacksonville Jaguars. On paper, looked lopsided. Final score ended up being 31-19. Cardinals pulled this one off. Cardinals moved to 3-0. Jags dropped to 0-3. Cardinals covered their -8-point spread, and another under 52 hits. Who wants to talk about this one?
I mean, what is there to talk about this one besides Kyler Murray just pulling out victories? They got A.J. Green back here playing like A.J. Green from 3 years ago. I think he surpassed 100 yards.
Amen, Kirk.
Yeah, so there's a lot of mouths to be fed on this offense. I just don't know who's going to score what on what week. I'm pretty sure DeAndre Hopkins not happy about all of this because he's a big target guy. He likes to get a lot of the attention. I don't see that happening the rest of the season. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray, this was the first game of the season, at least from what I saw, that he looked human, right? He made mistakes. On paper, didn't have a stellar game, didn't run the ball rather effectively, and they were losing early on to the Jags, right? They had to come back. And so you mentioned A.J. Green, Christian Kirk, both go over 100 yards. Hopkins only 3 for 21, so weird fantasy week on that front. And then both Connor and Edmonds had 11 carries each, but they both had decent fantasy games.
Right.
And
2 touchdowns for Connor.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns for Connor, where typically Edmonds is the guy on that team, at least 3 weeks in. And I think the Cardinals' defense was a big bright spot because Trevor Lawrence is a rookie quarterback. They made it tough for him. 2 interceptions, pick 6, 3 sacks, 2 fumbles lost. I mean, that's that many turnovers, rookie quarterback against a team with that dynamic of an offense. I mean, there's no way you're going to win that game.
Yeah, this was fun to watch, though, because there was that 68-yarder field goal attempt and
109
Jamal Agnew.
Yeah, that was amazing. I remember Buffalo Wild Wings just going crazy.
I was going nuts.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I was going nuts. I had the Cardinals defense, so that didn't affect me at all because that's the points don't go against defense.
Whose lines it anyway?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the points don't matter. But, so I don't know. It was just
and then the Jags were actually up 19-10. So when they were up 19-10, Next Gen Stats had the probability of them winning at 71%.
That's so stupid. It was a third quarter.
I know. I don't get this.
Next Gen Stats can SMD because...
Can you listen to our podcast?
Yeah, Next Gen Stats. How are you? 7? You said over 70%?
Yeah, 71.
Yeah, I mean, that you had a whole quarter with Kyler Murray knowing that you have... And, that's funny. So it's 10-19. What was the next score immediately after that? Was that the pick 6?
I'm not sure.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure it was. Yeah. So take that, Next Gen Stats. Did you not realize it was a rookie quarterback on the other side? But no, I mean, from that perspective, it is interesting.
Yeah.
The one bright spot on the Jags that we had a lot of concerns about. I mean, could have just been a product of the game, but James Robinson finally has a nice game.
Yeah. They interviewed Urban Meyer before the game, and he said he's going to make it a point to get him the ball. There's some stats about him too. Last year, I think when he got over 16 to 17 touches a game, they had a productive day. I'm not going to say they won the game, but they had a productive day. And looking at their last few games, they would desperately want a productive day, so that's why they made it a point to get him the ball. Fantasy owners are happy. Jaguars, were winning a good part of this game. So I have a strong feeling they're going to stay with the running game there.
Yeah, and just to answer your question, it was the next play was 17-19. It was like a 75-yard drive. James Conner scored. Okay. The play after that was the pick 6.
Okay. I knew it was in a crucial spot. So that makes sense.
At the third quarter. Yeah.
So Robinson had 15 for 88, did get in the end zone, and also caught 6 passes for 46 yards. So a nice fantasy outing for him. And in a rather lackluster start to the season. Cardinals again moved to 3-0. Jags dropped to 0-3. Moving right along, the Washington football team were at the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills absolutely laid the smackdown on the Washington football team, 43-21 final. phenomenal. Bills cover their -7 spread easily, and the first over comes on the board. The over 46 hits. Man, the biggest thing again, you had talked about Josh Allen needing a big game. We had a lot of question marks on the Washington defense. I think 2 questions have been answered there. Josh Allen, obviously, two subpar performances, and he's great, like amazing performance.
Right.
The Redskins' defense is absolutely atrocious. What happened from how formidable they were last year to now, to where they can't stop anybody?
Yeah, their secondary is just complete trash. I know they can still kind of stuff the run a little bit, but I mean, Josh Allen doesn't give a shit if you can stop the run. Josh Allen actually has a phenomenal schedule coming up too.
Wow.
Either it's like a shootout or it's a blowout. So, Bills are going to be the best team.
Bills Mafia.
It's crazy to think that this was a team that lost to the Steelers the first week, right?
Yeah.
Like the way that they're playing.
How far 2 weeks we've come, where the Steelers are riding that high and the Bills are on that low.
Week 1 overreactions, man. We've said that multiple times here. You gotta stay on track.
Yeah, I mean, they look like the most complete team in the NFL, right?
We had mentioned this before the season started, that if there was one team that we're super confident about, it's the Bills. So, I mean, defense, offense, you got Josh Allen and their running backs are running the ball. It's like, how do you stop this?
Yeah, Zach Moss is playing really well. I think he had a touchdown last game as well. So I'm maybe considering picking up Zach Moss from the
enjoyed that one
from the waivers.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thin at running back and you need like a spot, I get it, because he's a name and he's gotten into the end zone.
Yeah.
But the Bills are not predicated on the run, and Zach Moss is the backup, and so. It's going to be one of those situations where you have to hope the week you start him, he does well, because it's not going to. I don't think he's going to maintain a level of consistency that makes him fantasy viable. But
at the other side, Gibson though did get a touchdown, so it's
he should have gotten 2 touchdowns. He should have gotten 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I'm going to take this to my grave, dude. He dropped a goal line catch that I could have made with my eyes closed. So it's really frustrating as a Gibson owner to not let that happen, but.
He did have that 73-yard screen pass.
Yeah, he did that, but that was before the drop, so the drop is closer to my memory than
Yeah. No, and Allen, 5 total touchdowns. Beasley had 11 catches, 98 yards. Emmanuel Sanders, huge game. 5 catches, 94 yards, 2 touchdowns, right? And so that, again, in relation, makes Diggs have a lackluster game, 6 for 62. And so you have on the other side, we talked about Taylor Heineke, right? I had Terry McLaurin as my sit this week because I was worried about what Taylor Heineke could be able to do against that defense. And, again, he did as well as he could. Right? 2 touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, threw 2 interceptions, but there was really not enough time. There was not enough receivers getting open. There was not enough playmaking, and that Bills defense is freaking good.
Yeah, this Bills defense is no joke.
And so it was just a nightmare for them. And again, Gibson has a great game because of that big run. Should have had another touchdown. And Logan Thomas had their 1 other touchdown.
Yeah, it looks like he really likes Logan Thomas in the red zone.
Yeah.
So we're going to see a lot of Logan Thomas here on out in the red zone.
Yeah, big tight end, jump ball situations. He's got good hands. But, yeah, Bills moved to 2-1. Washington drops to 1-2. The New York Jets were at the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos easily win this one, 26-0. Broncos are 3-0 in this early season. Easy schedule. Let's see what happens. Jets are 0-3. A lot of question marks. Broncos cover their -10 spread. Another under 42 hits. This is as clear as on paper as it is. The Broncos just controlled this start to finish.
Yeah, the Broncos have played really well so far. I'm really excited for this Week 4 matchup because they just played the 3 easiest teams in the league. We're going to see if they're for real now. I think it's time to stop drinking the Kool-Aid and start seeing what they're really made of.
Yeah, so as far as their receiving core goes for fantasy purposes, I like what I saw from Tim Patrick. 5 reception, 98 yards. That's a guy that I was saying go pick up if since Judy's out, and he's been performing pretty well there. And so the Jets, not looking so good.
Yeah, they suck.
Nor are their receivers. Jets have 11 drops through 3 games, which is tied for second most in the NFL.
Zach Wilson was actually doing pretty well running around in the backfield there. There was some really cool plays that he made. He was like weaving through I think like 3 different linemen were attacking him in different levels, and he just weaved through one, through the other, and through the other, kind of like a snake. And he made the pass, and the guy dropped it.
Yeah. He's elusive, right? He kind of reminds you of maybe Russell Wilson a little bit.
Maybe it's the last name, maybe it's the play.
Wilson. Yeah, there's a lot to like about Zach Wilson. situationally, the Jets suck, and so whenever you go to the Jets, it just seems like it brings you down. But he doesn't have a lot to work with. You can't drop passes for a rookie quarterback. You just can't. And they have no real surefire weapons, at all. And so it's just like, where is he going to go? Where do they go from here? Just completely shut down. It's demoralizing for a rookie quarterback when you're not surrounding him with help, because it just makes him seem like he sucks. And, confidence is key in the biggest stage of the NFL.
I feel a lot worse for Zach Wilson, because it's like Fields, but every week.
Yeah. Exactly.
He's like going through Groundhog Day every week. So it's like, that must be pretty mentally tasking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Broncos, again, start to finish, control this statement. Not statement. It's the freaking Jets, but just take care of business. 3-0. The Miami Dolphins were at the Vegas Raiders here. Raiders early season looking really good. Come away in overtime to win this one, 31-28. Raiders moved to 3-0. Dolphins dropped to 1-2. Dolphins do cover their plus 3.5 point spread, and another over actually hits on 45. Raiders comeback.
Yeah. Or you could say it either way, right?
Right.
The Dolphins,
it was a back and forth game.
Dolphins came back and tied that game to force it to overtime, which was amazing to see. Brissett, I think it was 4th and long, and he throws it in down the middle, gets a first down, and then in the red zone, got the ran in for the touchdown.
He runs it in, yeah.
So Brissett, man, if you're the Colts, you're watching Brissett, you're like, man, I wish I kind of had this guy right now, right?
For sure.
Maybe we wouldn't have to play no ankles.
we got to get him a nickname that's like more directed to the ankles.
Yeah. Ankleless.
Ankleless.
I don't know. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It was, Brissett looked good. He had a decent game. He kept them alive. Raiders went down early this game, and then they come back down from 14-0, right? I think their first score was like a safety.
Yeah.
And then they come back from that, and then the Dolphins turn around and come back, force this game to go to overtime. Both teams kick a field goal in overtime, and then Carlson kicks the second field goal. That might be the first overtime game I've ever seen since these new overtime rules, where both teams kicked a field goal and then another team kicked a second field goal. I cannot think of another time that's happened.
Yeah, that was amazing. Just to be able to force it to overtime, I couldn't believe that. Derek Carr had a pretty good game too, right? 386 yards, 2 touchdowns. Who's looking like a pretty good quarterback in the first 3 games of the season.
Early season MVP votes probably.
Right.
So the Raiders have 1,413 total yards this season. That's the most through their through week 3 in team history. A lot of that has to do with the overtime stuff, but they're also the first team in NFL history to win each of their first 3 games of a season versus teams that have over 10 wins the prior season.
Wow.
So that's actually
impressive.
Really impressive.
Yeah, they haven't had a cakewalk of a schedule, right? They've played tough teams and
Ravens.
They've won.
They're literally the Vikings, but with the things going their way.
But executing to actually get the wins, right? Yeah. And, Peyton Barber, comes in, is a workhorse, 23 for 111 and a touchdown. Kenyon Drake has officially become a waste of space.
And money.
Yeah, waste of space and money. Yeah, just awful. I don't know when Jacobs is supposed to come back. They don't really have many updates on that. But yeah, Gesicki and Waddle kind of had some volume in this game just because they were down and had to throw a lot. I don't know if that's a long-term outlook. I know Gesicki's a good tight end. It's just about, will he get the volume?
Yeah.
Will he get passes thrown his way? And, Waddle's obviously a first-round pick, so the expectations are there. It's just about, do they throw the ball enough, and is there enough, balls to go around, I guess.
Yeah, they're going to be throwing a lot. I think Waddle's a pretty good option for fantasy purposes. If he's available, which, there's going to be some leagues out there where he's running around, stop him and pick him up.
Yeah. So Raiders moved to 3-0. Again, impressive early in the season, especially in a tough division.
Yeah, and then Hunter Renfrow. I don't know if he's still going to be available, but 5 receptions, 77 yards, a touchdown. Looks like, a pretty good target for Derek Carr there.
He almost looks like a more consistent early season target than Darren Waller, who Darren Waller's, projected way higher. Had an insane year last year, but Carr's spreading the ball around this year. Yeah. Worrisome for Waller owners, but again, it gives other guys opportunities, and they're all making the most of it. And it's a nightmare for defenses now if all these guys can play.
Right. So it's good for the Raiders. It's really bad for fantasy purposes because I don't want any of these guys on my team.
Yep.
Like the target share here, this is what it looked like: 5, 7, 6, 7, 6, 5. You probably can't name which player was 7 and which player was 5.
Yeah.
Right. Ruggs had 7, and Waller had 7, and then Renfrow had 6. Edwards had 5. So it's like, I don't want to start any of these guys besides Waller, obviously, because tight end position. But they're all playing really well. They're helping out Carr. They're doing what they're supposed to do. So from a Raiders perspective, they're playing great. But from a fantasy perspective, I don't want to start any of these guys.
I mean, it's one of those like, okay, you lost your number one receiver, like AJ Brown's not playing or something like that. Then maybe you consider starting Ruggs or Renfro. Right?
Yeah, I would say Renfro over Ruggs. Ruggs is way too boomer bust. Renfro, we talked about it. He's had a nice season so far. Carr likes him. Carr looks his way. So, but yeah, again, so many mouths to feed. It's interesting. But Raiders impressive 3-0. Again, doing a 3-0 thing, unlike the Broncos, where they're actually beating relevant teams. So, let's keep an eye on them. But next game, the Seattle Seahawks were visiting to our Minnesota Vikings. The Seattle Seahawks come in here and absolutely get shit on. 30-17. Vikes win this one. Vikes move to 1-2. Seahawks drop to 1-2. Our Vikes cover the spread at +1.5, and another under hits on the board at 54. Let's freaking go, Vikings.
Yeah, man. Remember when we talked about how do we win this game? And you were like, can we keep this up? We fixed our only problem we've had all of last year. It's to give our quarterback some time. There's pockets everywhere. There's pockets left. There's pockets right.
Yep.
The man's taking his shoe off because he's so focused. I don't see any weaknesses in our whole team besides the cornerback situation right now. And I think this team is a team to be noticed. I think every team, when they play the Minnesota Vikings, it's not going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah, you guys could have easily gone 3-0, right? Or maybe not easily. Easily is not the word, but
easily is
no,
the word.
easily. We lost a game in overtime,
Right.
and we lost a game to a field goal. That was easy to make. So 3-0.
Right. So, you guys, I mean, and Cousins looking like an MVP candidate.
Yeah,
Cousins is absolutely
I
surgical.
wonder if anybody said that before the season started. Maybe some guy out there somewhere. But yes, I am truly happy with how he's playing. He's just getting the job done. He's playing like Derek Carr. It's like watching the same player except way more accurate. So, just get the ball to your receivers, which he's doing. There's not one receiver he likes more than the other. We have two legit receivers. He's making Conklin look really good, who we are using mainly as a blocking tight end. But he had like 8 targets, something like that, 9 targets.
Yep, 7 catches, 70 yards, touchdown.
So, yeah, like we said, if you're spreading the ball around this much, defenses don't know what to do. And I think this has been a theme here so far, just spreading the ball around.
Yep. Dalvin Cook was out. Alexander Madison does not miss a beat, right?
Not
Looks
at all.
Equally impressive.
He kind of looks like Cook from the
the dreads.
Yeah.
It's the dreads.
That's what it is.
It's the dreads. But, yeah, I mean, I think, again, the story is twofold, right? When I was going back and rewatching this game, early on, it seemed like the Vikings defense couldn't stop them at all. I was like, okay, this is another, same shit, different day kind of situation here. They were cooking. And then it was 17-7, I believe, and the Vikings had it, and we didn't get the third down conversion, but there was a penalty called. Penalty called, we get the first down, we end up moving the ball, it's right before half, and we scored a touchdown. So 17-14, and the rest is history, because it was 17-7, and the Vikings scored 23 unanswered points. The defense does not let the Seahawks score in the second half.
Yeah.
And, again, Kirk had made some insane throws. The question mark you mentioned, the offensive line, I'm still trying to understand how this offensive line went from dog shit last year, atrocious week 1, and then kind of flipped the switch immediately week 2. What's been the key? And I guess when we have a defense, when we have like a formidable defense, like maybe the Browns coming in next week, how do we sustain that? Because it's Myles Garrett.
Yeah, so, the strength the Browns have are on the outside, right? So we have one of the best, if not the best, right tackle in football.
Brian O'Neill.
So if you can handle one of those guys, there's a lot less pressure for the rest of the offensive linemen. And we did get rid of our weakest offensive lineman from last year. We got rid of Samia. We got rid of Dozier. So clearly those guys were serious problems because these guys, even though we're not like pancake blocking people out here, we're containing, we're creating space. We have an accurate quarterback to the point where just give him time and he'll get the ball somewhere. That's not it's not a sack every play like we're so used to. So, yeah, man, what else do you have to add on the offensive side of things?
No, Kirk early season MVP. He's literally it. I mean, if the Vikings were even 2-1, he'd be probably the favorite to be the MVP in my opinion. But 30 for 38, 323, 3 touchdowns, and no interceptions. Justin Jefferson 9 for 118 and a touchdown. Thielen doing his thing, 6 for 50 and a touchdown. On the other side, Russell Wilson expected to cook again. Right, our defense isn't supposed to be great, or so we thought. And again, 17 points in the first half, and then nothing after that. So
Tyler Lockett finally had a bad day.
Tyler Lockett got hurt. which again looked like a scary injury, so I'm hoping he's okay. But Tyler Lockett left the game, and early on, DK Metcalf was absolutely dominating. Like that first drive, that first quarter, even the first half, dominated. Didn't sustain it though. The second half, again, the switch was completely flipped.
Yeah.
When I was going back and watching this, it was so weird because I almost felt like the Seahawks play calling was super weird. Like why they were running the ball on situations where I felt like they should have thrown, and I don't know if like Lockett being injured kind of just like changed everything for them, or if he was that integral in their offense. But the way they were play calling in the second half, I'm like, Chris Carson was gashing us in the first half, right? He was running all over us, and they weren't running in situations to run, and they weren't passing in situations where they should have passed. It was just really weird play calling, very unlike Pete Carroll. But again, I got to give credit to, I mean, maybe Zimmer had shit figured out, and he was one step ahead. So impressive victory. Gives me a lot of hope that, there is a huge factor, home field advantage when you're in the Minnesota Vikings Stadium.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When you're at US Bank, that noise is insane, is absolutely insane. I'd argue it's just as noisy as maybe anywhere else. And so home field is a huge factor, and I think the Browns come to play us.
They do come to us.
Yep.
This is going to be a huge game to figure out where we stand. You know?
Yeah, that's going to be a statement game. If we can win that game, I mean, again, look out. But nonetheless, amazing victory, great performance. There was a question that came in that is in relation to this game somewhat. You want to hit on that?
Which question are you referring to?
The question about the tight ends.
Oh.
Did you see that underneath the... So basically what they talked about was, I think it was also Ben that had asked this on Twitter. He's looking at possibly picking up a tight end, and Conklin had a good game, and another tight end that we'll actually touch on here from Monday night had a good game. I guess we could wait till we talk about the Monday night game.
We can talk about it now.
Yeah, let's talk about it now.
So he was asking us if Conklin or Schultz would be a better pickup. He didn't mention for the rest of the season or if it was for next week. But, Conklin, this is his first time. It's like a first-time show out of Conklin. Like, how much of your, money are you going to put on Conklin to perform like this all the time? Probably not very much. Schultz was actually a very, very good tight end last year. I had him in some of my leagues. He was, playing for a quarterback that throws the most out of any other quarterback in the league is always a good sign. Versus Conklin, who plays for a quarterback who is in a run-first offense.
And Conklin has always primarily been a blocking tight end.
Yes. But when we got him, his role wasn't to catch passes because we already had Irv Smith. His role was to block. He's our second tight end, which is normally the blocking tight end. So, take one game for how you want. Conklin will do good because he's a big guy. He's a big guy with big arms. So he will get some here and there. Like, he'll probably catch a few more touchdowns this year because he's a big threat in the red zone and all that good stuff. But Schultz is just the money man. Like, he seems like a very reliable target for Dak. He's throwing to him on third and, 14s. He's throwing to him in the red zone. So looking at that, I would, at this point in the season, Schultz is the guy to have.
Yeah, same. I pick Schultz over Conklin. I mean, if Schultz is not available or someone picks him up on the waiver wire, maybe you pick up Conklin afterwards. But Schultz is definitely a guy there.
Yeah, I'm gonna lean Schultz as well. Yeah, reiterate basically everything you guys said, and then on top of that, you just have to think about the tight end position is so the depth is not there, right? Conklin is fighting for targets from guys like Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. When he comes back, runs the ball again. We're a run-first offense. We've established KJ Osborne as a third receiver who he only had 3 catches, but all 3 of his catches were
Huge.
almost third down or really crucial situations. So for
big.
Kirk to trust him in those situations, again, there's so many other places I feel like Kirk is going to look before Conklin. Conklin's like a safety blanket, and then could be a benefactor in the red zone. Whereas you have Dalton Schultz, like you mentioned, he's already established himself in that offense last year, even with big receivers. And now you have receivers still hurt in Gallup. You have CeeDee Lamb and Cooper, who, again, we'll talk about that a little bit more, but didn't produce to the level they should have this game. And so Schultz had emerged more so as a product of him being good rather than the situation of the game, whereas I feel like it's the reverse for Conklin. But that's not to sleep on Conklin. He could have a solid year.
This offense is
We love our tight ends. We love our tight ends.
Yeah. So another guy to look at, and this might be a little bit of a stretch, and maybe you have to have the bench to let go of someone to get this. But Freiermuth for the Steelers, and he could be a valuable pickup there, just because the Steelers...
You've lost a lot of wide receivers.
We've lost a lot of wide receivers, exactly. And he got the ball in the red zone, even though it basically looked like a running play, but it was a pass play.
Yeah.
If the Steelers are in the red zone, they will get the targets. But that's the big if. And hopefully later down the line, we'll start seeing Steelers throw the ball to Freiermuth in just like they do
normal situations.
Right, normal
they did
situation.
throw him one, and he dropped his opportunity.
He did drop.
Moving right along, let's go to the marquee matchup of the week. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers were traveling to the LA Rams in the game that we thought should have been Sunday night, but it wasn't. It wasn't slated for Sunday night, but man, this game lived up to the hype. 34-24, the Rams at home actually defeat the Bucs, win the game by 10. They cover the spread of +1. The over hits at 55. The Rams are an early season 3-0, and the Bucs dropped to 2-1. Stafford outgoated the GOAT in this game.
Yep.
He did.
It helps. It helps when you have that stout defense, man. I don't know what team's gonna actually beat the Rams, let alone beat them by more than 14 points.
It's crazy because Tom Brady didn't have a bad game at all.
No.
41 for 55, 432 yards, only one touchdown, which is not what we're expected seeing. Antonio Brown was not playing because of the COVID issue. But he was pissed. He said some things that I won't repeat. I don't know if you guys saw the mouthing of him saying some bad words there. But the Rams, man, they're stout D and just doing what they need to do.
Stafford 343 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions.
Yeah.
Right? Deshaun Jackson sighting, just resurrection.
Yep. Give me some flashbacks of my Vic days.
Honestly, man, those bombs, he's still getting open. He's still getting open. He's still fast. 3 catches, 120 yards and a touchdown, and he could have had more. There was another one that they looked for him deep, and they didn't hit him. And Cooper Kupp still on fire. 9 for 96, 2 touchdowns. Where's Robert Woods, man?
Not there. Not in the red zone. I'll tell you that.
Man, it's that breakfast connection. Woods really needs to be like, hey, Kupp, I need to start taking Stafford to breakfast.
What time do you guys eat breakfast?
Honestly, but
it's probably 6 a.m. in
football
California time.
It's probably 4:30 a.m. Let's be honest.
They're like, let's get up at 4 a.m.
They're probably bench pressing after that and all kinds of good stuff. But hey, there's this fun stat that I think I'm just going to repeat every day until this changes. But the Rams are now 38-0 and leading at halftime since 2017. They're the only team with 0 losses in that span. It's actually insane.
That's so crazy.
That's insane. I'm probably going to end up this season with just still a 0 at the end of this stat.
So if they're winning at half, they're going to win the game?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. That's
that's
the formula. Just be leading at halftime.
Yep. Yeah. And then
sounds so easy. But no, yeah. What else? What else is in this game? There's a lot of fantasy guys, a lot of implications.
Yeah, Tom Brady took a 1-yarder. He ran it in.
Yep.
That's also another reason his stats look really good. Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette. Geez, who's vulturing who? Yeah. Talking about who vulturing who? Nobody's vulturing anybody.
Tom Brady is vulturing them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's known to do those 1-yard sneaks. But yeah, the receivers, Mike Evans, 10 targets, along with Giovanni Bernard got 10 targets because mainly probably because they're behind, had to dump it off because they can't trust those other guys. Gronk, he did get injured a little bit. Still got 7 targets. A lot of, it's still good. Tyler Johnson sighting with 6 targets for 63 yards. Godwin doing what Godwin does, just down the middle, catching those. He ended up with 74 yards with 6 receptions. So, receivers, there's really no at fault here. They did go against the Rams. They were getting Ramsey. They were getting Donald. They played pretty well. Just got to finish it off, man. It's really not – it's very unlike Tom Brady to not end things – a little closer than how the game started.
It's funny. You said Ramsey, and I was thinking Ramsey'd like a verb to describe how well the Rams were playing. But yeah, no, this is setting up Tom Brady though, right? Not that he needs any more fuel for the next game, but this is just adding it on.
Do you guys remember last year? His first year with the Bucs, I think they came out and they came out and won. Or did they came? I think they won the first couple games, and then they had a week 3 or some early season matchup against the Saints, I believe, and they got destroyed.
That's right.
Everyone was like, overrated, blah blah blah. The Bucs suck. And then wouldn't you know it, didn't freaking matter because it was week 3. This is literally on paper that identical type of performance to me, and it'll be really awesome to see these teams face off somewhere down the road.
Yeah. I think this is, I was saying on our last podcast how this is not why this game was not Sunday Night Football.
Yeah.
But then that was answered by the other game fairly quickly. But
Yeah. Rams take care of this one. Intriguing fashion. 3-0 now. Again, really, really impressive. Not many question marks on that team, so they're freaking scary. But yeah, the Sunday night game was the Green Bay Packers traveled to visit the San Francisco 49ers. A really close game here. Really good game. Packers pull this one out 30-28 final. Packers moved to 2-1. 49ers dropped to 2-1. Packers covered their 3-point spread as 3-point dogs on the road, and the over does hit. So these marquee matchups, the over does seem like it's hitting at 51. The Packers, on their side, it's really just the same three-headed monster doing three-headed monster things.
Yep.
Right? Rodgers.
Yeah, we were talking about D-Rudge earlier.
Yeah.
So last year he had Aaron Rodgers, he had Devontae Adams, and he had
Aaron Jones.
Aaron Jones.
Wow.
He was just sipping on that Packer Kool-Aid all season long.
Did he win
On
with that team?
cheese.
No. He didn't make the playoffs.
Oh, okay. Well, that didn't end up how we wanted it to. But yeah, no, I mean, if they're performing like this every week, then if you have these three guys, it's insane. Rodgers, 261, 2 tutties. Jones, 19 for 82 and a touchdown. Adams, 12 catches, 132 yards and a touchdown. Packers really did their thing there. What did San Francisco do, and how did they not pull off this victory?
It's like, how much time is not enough time
it's too
for
much time
Aaron
for Aaron
Rodgers?
Rodgers.
Like 37 seconds, right? 37 seconds, throws some deep bombs down the middle and gets the guys to in field goal range for Mason Crosby to do 50-yarder for Mason Crosby?
Yeah, something that's easy for Mason Crosby.
Right.
Yeah.
So
this is the same thing as the Chiefs game, right? So it's like, there are two goats out here, and I'm not a big fan of giving goats time to do goat things.
Yeah, the thing with the Packers is the Packers only needed a field goal. They had no timeouts, and I'm telling you, I don't remember the last time I saw Aaron Rodgers that fired up after he completed that final pass to set up the field goal.
Yeah.
I mean,
he was like,
he was
spike.
He was so amped up, and I'm telling you that again, everything else was probably a factor, but also a slight factor of what I mentioned is it's the 49ers, and they overlooked him in the draft. And he's like, every time I want to beat the 49ers, I'm extra excited about it.
And he is one of those guys that holds grudges.
Exactly. So, I mean, it was awesome to see. He was so fired up about that because that was such a surgical, methodical drive. No timeouts, 37 seconds. And, dude, how was Devontae Adams so open in that first play? Like, the first play for 30 yards, he just sits in a zone,
Honestly,
and he's wide open.
Oh, was that the second play?
Was it the second play?
Yeah, the first play he wasn't open. He actually had 3 defenders, the middle linebacker.
Yeah, actually, you're right.
It was a tip away from getting it. It was just perfect pass.
Throw.
The second play, though, he had 15 yards in all directions. It was wide open.
Right. Yeah. On the other side, though, for the 49ers, I went out and got Kittle. And the guy who I was playing is the guy who drafted who traded me Kittle, and I came up with the W.
Hell yeah.
It was a great feeling. But I like what I saw. 7 receptions, 92 yards. You want to see more than that from like your what you consider maybe tier 1, tier 2 tight end.
Tier 1.
Tier 1, yeah. But 7 receptions, 92 yards, 9 targets. Finally, it's about time that they use Kittle.
Yeah. I think it's only gonna go up from there. Jimmy Garoppolo, decent game, but 4 sacks, 1 fumble lost, 1 interception. Again, you have to protect the football, especially against an offense like the Packers.
Yeah.
I mean, running backs are getting depleted. Trey Sermon had 10 for 31 and a touchdown, and they ran use check 5 times on designed runs.
Yeah, he also caught a touchdown for 37 yards, 4 receptions, 37 yards. There was Brandon Ayuk sighting finally. Yep. Happy for those guys, those owners. He got a touchdown as well. Debo got 10 targets like he always does. But it was just one of those games where everything you plan for things to go, it doesn't go that way, but both teams adjust really well throughout the game to make it a close game.
I haven't seen anything from Jimmy Garoppolo to say that Trey Lance should come in.
Yeah, I tweeted something out during the game through our Only Playbook tweet account. I was like, hey, in quotes, I was like, anything you can do, I can do better, probably. Trey Lance to Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think it's 100% accurate. There's nothing that Garoppolo has done that you're like, oh my God, Garoppolo is so good. Besides, he went 25 for 40, 2 touchdowns, a pick. This seems to be a theme here in his play. There's really nothing that stands out, so it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, he's not sexy, but they're falling
in physically.
Yeah, actually, he is a very, very good human being. But on the football field, nothing he does is sexy. I just think they're doing the right thing, and they have the benefit of a team that's actually decent to let Lance learn and adjust and everything and learn under Jimmy Garoppolo, whereas Fields just got thrown into the fire and hey, get out there, see what you can do. But they gave him nothing to work with. But do you see how Trey Lance gets put in seldom plays in situations where he can succeed? Like, run the ball ball in because you're you're a mobile quarterback in the red zone. It's like, oh, I got my first touchdown. Confidence builder, right? It's just putting them in positions to help them succeed long term. And Trey Lance is in that exact position. So I don't think there's really any kind of call for him to just start right away, because it's not like Garoppolo's playing absolutely horribly.
Yeah.
They're 2 points away, 37 seconds away from being 3-0.
Yeah.
So, absolutely gives Lance that benefit. But, yeah, that was the Sunday Night Football game. Let's go on to the last matchup of the week. Monday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles were at the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry's World, 2 miles from here. Divisional matchup. Outcome not what I personally expected. The Cowboys absolutely destroyed the Eagles. 41-21 final. They cover their 3.5-point spread. The over 52 just absolutely gets smashed. And I think the Cowboys really just put on an absolute clinic, right? Cowboys clinic, Eagles just so disarray, just absolutely nightmarish. Who wants to talk first?
So the Eagles are 0-11-1 when allowing 22 points or more since last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they haven't had the firepower to overcome being down, and looks like on paper they got all these youngsters, speedsters, and all kinds of stuff. It looks good, they're a very youthful team with a lot to offer. But I think we're kind of or at least some of us were underestimating the Cowboys quite a bit, because offensively they're up there. They're top 3 probably offenses that they can, keep up with pretty much anybody. And their concern was defense, and they just, manhandled the Eagles. So if they can keep playing like this, it's going to be my team, the Minnesota Vikings, being in the NFC. Now I'm looking at the Cowboys like, how far away are these guys from the Rams? How much do I have to worry about the Cowboys?
They're the real deal.
Yeah, and that defense is looking pretty good. Like Devontae Smith could not. He was having trouble.
He dropped some passes.
Passes. He also tripped.
Yeah.
Or not tripped, but he just fell
on that interception.
I forget who's the guy that was on him. Diggs, right?
Trayvon Diggs.
Trayvon Diggs, man, like just hovering over Devontae Smith, not letting him do anything. And then Lawrence, right? Just playing great defense. So I think that they're a pretty complete team. They're good, and so. I mean, Cowboys, they looked good.
Yeah, and they started running the ball again, They established the run, and when you establish the run with, a quarterback like Dak, it's just he doesn't need to throw 50 times to win the game. He went 21 for 26, 238 yards and 3 touchdowns, It's just like the Cowboys can't lose if Elliott plays the way he did this game.
Yeah. And I misspoke. I said Lawrence. I meant Parsons.
Yeah.
Lawrence is out, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Parsons and Diggs are kind of anchoring that defense right now, and they look scary. And you mentioned, obviously, the run game. Zeke, the best he's looked so far, I think, in maybe, quite some time. 17 for 195, 2 touchdowns, caught 3 passes for 21 yards. Pollard, a little bit more of a reduced role this week, 11 carries, 60 yards, only had 1 catch. But we talked about the, Dalton Schultz emerging this game, 6 for 80 yards and 2 touchdowns. But that leads me to kind of my next question is, guys like CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb caught the first pass of this game for like 43 yards, and you were like, okay, this secondary is wide open. These receivers are going to have a kind of an eating fest. Yeah. But after that, he only finishes with 3 catches for 66 yards. Yeah. And Amari Cooper only has 3 catches for 26 yards when Michael Gallup is already hurt, and Dak on paper had a great game. So what's going on? Why are these guys not getting the catches and the targets and the volume?
I mean, I think it's all about that run game at that point, right? Is Zeke getting all the balls? I mean, like they designed to just play run and gun, and Zeke did what we're used to seeing him at least 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, so the reason that happened was because they were up 14-7 at the end of the first quarter, right? Yep. So when the Cowboys are up, they get to go back to their roots. They get to go back to their roots of running the ball. So they didn't have to throw the ball like they did the first game when Dak had to throw like over 50 passes. I think this game is more of an outlier than the first game, honestly, to be completely honest. Zeke definitely has regressed a little bit, just overall. Not this game, but just overall. Sure. There's a reason Tony Pollard's getting 11 carries, because they see this dynamic player that they're just not using. And if Zeke was like somebody like Dalvin Cook or Derrick Henry, no matter how good Tony Pollard was, they wouldn't use him, right? So they see some signs of where, like, okay, maybe Zeke is, maybe he can't handle 28 carries. Maybe let's give him 17 carries and let's see what Tony Pollard can do with the other half.
Yeah, and CeeDee Lamb could have easily had 2 touchdowns, I think. There was that touchdown for Wilson, where Wilson was wide open, puts a little tippy toes, catches the ball. But in that same play, CeeDee Lamb was also wide open right at the middle. Dak Prescott just didn't see him, and he went with Cedric Wilson. So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I just think after Amari Cooper had that insane week 1, comes out and says, I'm the best receiver in the league. I just have to prove it. And then, again, he got, big play Slade right here, because I think he was getting covered by Darius Slay most of this game. But regardless, I just expect more production from somebody like that. CeeDee Lamb, not so much, because, again, there's still so much to be seen. But Cooper, I just feel like 3 for 26 in that kind of game.
No targets for anybody. Schultz got 7 targets. Lamb got 3. Cooper got 4. Elliott got 3. I'm not concerned with the targets. I am concerned with Cooper's play, because I've always known he's not the best wide receiver in the league, right?
I agree.
We've seen Cooper play. He has these bursts. He has these regular games, and he has these really poor games. To be in his favor here, this game wasn't really – I wouldn't say it's really Cooper's fault. They didn't even really play him towards the end because they didn't have to. But I think if they're facing a team that's actually a challenge that can keep up, then they're going to have to use the receivers. Then they really don't have a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, and on the Eagles side, we talked about it. Hurts, again, disarray, but fantasy-wise, he's always going to be relevant because he has legs.
Yeah.
So he didn't run the ball extremely well, but he still threw for 326 yards, had 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he ran it 9 times for 35 yards.
It's really funny. I texted 14 of my friends who I consider football knowledgeable, just last minute, desperation, because I was losing in my other league by 31 points, and I had Russell Wilson and Jalen Hurts, and I texted 14 of my friends, who would you start if you needed 31 points? Everybody said Russell Wilson. Not one person said Jalen Hurts. I benched Russell Wilson, started Jalen Hurts. Unfortunately, Jalen Hurts didn't get 31 points, but he did get more points than Russell Wilson. So all you 14 people out there, what's up?
It's always good to pick the other side. Whenever someone's too much favored on one side, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. This one was mainly I wanted to start Hurts, but I just wanted the confirmation. I wanted to hear it from somebody else, and I wasn't getting that. So I was like, fuck.
Yeah. No, that's ballsy. Very rarely do people bench Russell Wilson, but you made the right call.
Right.
And yeah, again, Eagles, just the offense was so bad, and I think a lot of it was the fact that outside of Hurts, they only had 3 total rushes. They didn't run the ball.
Man.
And I feel like the 3 times they ran it, the 2 times, maybe Miles Sanders got 6-7 yards.
Yeah, he averaged 13 yards per rush.
And he only had 2 carries. But I don't understand why they didn't try to establish the run. Yeah, they were down early, but it wasn't like they were down a shit ton. It was a touchdown game. They had plenty of time to establish the run.
I think they should look at that Derrick Henry stat. Maybe that might help them out.
Oh my God, recipe for success there. But you have to have some sort of a run game. Otherwise, it puts no pressure on the defense, right? The defense can literally just be one-sided and rush the passing game, and it just creates a lot of headaches for Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts, he looks at one receiver and one receiver only, it seems like. So it's probably going to take him some time to kind of go through the progressions and find the open target and throw it to him.
You know how we were talking about all these rookie quarterbacks here and there? This is only his 6th start.
Okay.
So it's he's kind of still a rookie.
100%.
Right.
So I think he'll figure it out eventually. Maybe not anytime soon, but we've seen some signs of Jalen Hurts getting didn't he get you 40-some fantasy points last year?
Oh yeah, the sky's the limit for this guy.
Yeah. He can do it with his feet. He can do it with his arm.
But the whole team has to play much better than they did this game.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Cowboys, again, pull that one away at home, blistering 41-21, move to 2-1, and take a commanding lead in that division that right now, outside of the Cowboys, every other team looks like they're just absolutely awful. Yeah. So the Cowboys division to lose there, they look formidable. They look like a threat in the NFC for sure. That's the last game on the board. So again, great slate of games, always exciting to go through them. Let's jump into our next segment, our fantasy studs and duds. We're each going to give you a fantasy stud for the week and a fantasy dud. I'll kick us off first, unless somebody else wants to start.
I'll just hit you guys with my dud. I don't even know about a stud really, for at least on my teams. No one really played well this week for me. But Tyreek Hill, bro.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, you are getting the dud. I'm going to give you a gold dud star. You don't even get a bronze. You get a gold just because where you're drafted and what you're doing. It's just not correlating. There's something seriously wrong with this offense. I don't think it's just Tyreek Hill. I think Mahomes is not getting enough time to throw. He's making some errant throws we're not used to seeing from him. Until something happens, maybe Josh Gordon can get the spark going, no pun intended. But if that works out, then I can see Tyreek Hill coming back alive. But I haven't gotten any signs of, being confident about Tyreek Hill. Even that first game, there was that deep bomb, and we're used to the deep bombs regularly, but it hasn't been regular the last 2 games. Mm-hmm. So it's the red flag is up.
Yeah. No, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Expectations are sky high for a guy like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm gonna start with the stud. I feel like there's so many studs.
There's always studs.
That's true. There is always.
We got 3 studs right here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But Alexander Madison, that guy.
Oh, bam!
Man,
all right,
that was
showing the Vikes love.
Just studding out here because Dalvin Cook is out and he just doesn't miss a beat. Just 23.1 PPR points. Like if you had Dalvin Cook and he gets hurt and you've stashed Alexander Madison as you should as a handcuff and you were able to deploy him, I mean,
you can't ask for a better.
You can't ask for a better game, right? Like what a better backup.
We told you on the last podcast to pick his ass up ASAP. Even though Mike Zimmer was like, we're going to put him out there. And we had this conversation. We're like, that's a lot to say for somebody that's not the one being injured. Yep. And we told you to get Madison now.
Yep.
And, this is the result.
Yeah.
Side note, did you guys get a chance to listen to the Vikings broadcasting? Because it probably wasn't the one that sound was on for.
No, we watched that here. We had the red zone sound on.
Do you know who was commentating that? Mark Sanchez.
Really?
Mark Sanchez was. You guys got to go back and listen to this. I've never seen somebody hype up Kirk Cousins more. Maybe Sasa, but Mark Sanchez was literally just hyping Kirk Cousins up so much to the point where I was like, okay, this must be like one of his first times doing this. But then how I knew that it for sure was he was also hyping up Amir Abdullah too much. He was like, just wait for it, man. Amir lines up in the receiving slot. He's gonna get one, and that's all.
He's trying to be Tony Romo.
Yeah, and I'm like, what are you doing, Sanchez? But the Kirk hype is real. But then the minute he was hyping Amir Abdullah, who we're like, all right, dude, I lost you. But that was really funny that he was commentating that. But yes.
Yeah, so he's my stud. My dud is gonna be, and I don't know if this is probably too early to pick him as a dud, but I'm gonna pick Rondale Moore.
Okay.
Rookie receiver with the Cardinals. You think that he would, if Kyler Murray has a better passing game, then Rondale Moore is gonna get his touches. But I think he got 3 targets.
See, this is the same reason. Like, I remember you were high on Christian Kirk. I don't know if that was last week or the week before. This is the same thing. It's the same product. When you have all these studs, you're going to get days where you get these Dudley numbers from these guys. But, I mean, Rondale Moore's, for the season is not going to be a dud. And this week, I'm sure, a lot of people started him on their flex or wide receiver too.
Right.
But nobody expected him to, go off, you know?
You think about a dud that game, and then you look at Rondale Moore, and you're like, okay, so that probably means DeAndre Hopkins 8, but he didn't also.
Right.
It was just a product of A.J. Green and Christian Kirk having their 100-yard games coming out of nowhere. But, yeah, I mean, from his performance so far last week, I bet, newer fantasy people and people that picked him up were all just super excited to deploy him in their lineup, and then he has a dud-like performance. But long-term, he's a star.
Right.
I think he's a star in the making.
He might lead the league or lead the team in targets by the end of the season.
Yeah, something to watch out for. But I like those. My fantasy stud and dud, I'll be quick because I've already talked about them. Fantasy stud, Mike Williams, probably the biggest steal 3 weeks in terms of fantasy football. I can't think of another one. He's literally just been double-digit targets, I think, every week. Herbert looks for him all the time, deep in the red zone. And if he's healthy, I can't remember him dropping a pass so far. So he's been sure-handed. He gets open. He jumps up and catches the ball. You mentioned it. He literally just puts his body on the line everywhere. He's going to go up and grab just about everything. And as a red zone threat, I mean, he's early favorite for me to have 12 to 15 touchdowns just because he's such a mismatch.
I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon either, mainly because when Mike Williams first came to the Chargers, it was the Phillip Rivers show, right?
Yep.
And Phillip Rivers liked to throw to receivers with a lot of space. Phillip Rivers went running back heavy. He was doing running back heavy stuff before Herbert was. And he liked throwing to Keenan Allen because Keenan Allen runs probably the best route in football.
Yep.
So he liked that space. He wasn't really too big on Mike Williams and the injury history. But now that there's no injury history and you have a new quarterback who likes to sling the ball a little bit more, it's like a recipe for success.
Yeah, it's a match made in heaven. I mean, you have Keenan Allen, like you said, underneath running all those crisp routes, and then you have the vertical threat in Mike Williams, the red zone threat.
He's looking like a league winner based off his ADP.
Yeah.
If you have Mike Williams, I mean, you probably have another set of running back and receivers that you feel confident.
It's so early, but yes.
I was expecting the numbers that Mike Williams is producing right now from Antonio Brown. So it's and they were probably around the same ADP. I don't know which one was higher or lower, but
I want to say Antonio Brown was a little bit higher.
Quite, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's really it's impressive. I don't think anybody was walking into this league going, Mike Williams is going to have a perfect year this year,
Right,
So this is definitely a surprise
Yeah, 3 weeks in, I think he's having a perfect 3 weeks. I mean, as good as you can expect. 29 points, 29.7 points, tops for receivers, and third overall in fantasy this week. So my fantasy dud, we hit on him. You made some good points, so I'll keep it short. Amari Cooper, the expectations are so high, in my opinion, when you come out and say stuff like the way he said it.
Yeah.
And again, when you see flashes of Cooper and he has those insane games, you're like, why can't he just do that all the time? But this game could have been a product of things just not going that way. So I'll keep it short. But 4.1 points from a guy who, a lot of people have as maybe their top receiver, just unacceptable. Especially when the Cowboys drop 41 points, and then you look at that and you expect production.
You know what sucks even more? When you have my dud and your dud on the same fantasy team.
Yeah, so that's my fantasy stud and my fantasy dud. Do we have who vultured who this week?
We don't. It's pretty much the same thing. I think we're going to give you more detailed explanations next week.
Okay.
I think 2 weeks sample size is going to make this segment a lot better than just giving you like stats from what happened this week. I think we can dive into a little bit more after getting 2 weeks worth of data and then give you like a much better explanation next week.
Yeah, I like that. We want to predicate that to have more information and numbers to go off of, because again, early on you just don't know, and so you're just kind of chucking wood at that point. Did we hit on all these waiver guys, or you want to highlight some of these guys that maybe we didn't touch on, Shovit?
Let me take a look at that.
Yeah.
No, I think we hit on most of them, right?
Sanders probably one you should keep an eye out for damn sure.
Yeah.
He just never goes away.
No.
Every year he leaves his team, and everywhere he just becomes a fantasy relevant guy.
Yep.
Yeah, for QB, I've got Derek Carr.
Yeah.
You might want to get him. I don't think Cousins is going to be available in most.
The difference
he probably might be.
He's probably available in every single league.
Yeah.
The thing is, Derek Carr is going to be in these battles for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And they're very similar to the Vikings in that they're a run first offense, but I see Derek Carr kind of being more of like a, does Derek Carr have any picks this year?
Yeah, he does.
He does, right? So he's more of like a reckless play,
yeah.
and Kirk Cousins is way too safe. He's like, I keep saying this, but he's the most accurate player in football right now. He's the second most accurate player of all time. So, like, the man doesn't make mistakes, and when you don't make those risky plays, there's really not much room for growth as far as a fantasy quarterback is considered. It's a great NFL quarterback, but fantasy quarterbacks, your numbers are kind of limited.
Right.
Derek Carr makes way more of those crazy plays. That could be a pick. That could be an 80-yard bomb. So, for that reason, I would probably look at Derek Carr more.
Another guy I've got on QB is Daniel Jones. Man, the guy is probably one of the faster quarterbacks in this league, and he can get you those points from rushing yards. So I've got Daniel Jones there.
Yeah, these guys, Daniel Jones, he's in the Hurts category as well. Like they're young, they're probably not that great of passers. Like they're not making perfect throws, but that low ceiling, high floor situation,
right?
You get like 6 points just from the running. So it's like nice to start your week knowing that you're going to get 6 points from your quarterback minimum. So that's where the Daniel Joneses come into play. If you're in a situation where it's going to be a close game, and both your team and the other team has similar amount of projections, Daniel Jones wouldn't be a bad start. But if you're getting, it's looking like you're going to get destroyed. The guy has Derrick Henry, Cooper Kupp. You might not want to play Daniel Jones because his ceiling's not as high as most quarterbacks.
Yeah. He's not as dynamic on the ground, right? Like we talked about, he's got straight line
linear speed.
He's got linear speed, but he doesn't have agility. He doesn't have acceleration. He doesn't have any of the things to make guys miss.
Right.
So that you question whether his runs are designed because people have 9 eyes on Saquon Barkley and he's wide open, or if he's just athletically enough to do that.
He's not.
Exactly.
He's not. So this is what he does. It's always a rollout that he just extends the play with his legs. It's like a continuous rollout, right?
Yep.
He just rolls and he runs. Or he's looking to pass and he goes forward linearly, just a straightaway speed. It's never like one of those Michael Vick moments where you're juking, spinning. You're never going to see that from him.
Yeah.
And it's got to be really deeper leagues for you to look at these quarterbacks. Obviously, are injuries related, but still somebody to stash if you need a quarterback for a bye week.
Yeah, running back. I have Chuba Hubbard. He's probably gonna be a top waiver pick after CMC's out. Another guy's Peyton Barber. Due to the Josh Jacobs injury.
Yeah, we don't know how long he's out. Josh Jacobs, I suspect they're not going to rush him back if they're able to get production from Barber. Because, Josh Jacobs is like the running back. They don't want to get him hurt. And I know it's a turf toe, and those things are lingering. Those things are pretty painful. So I think they probably want to rest him a little bit more. I'm not sure.
And then obviously Madison, right? He's not on my list here, but Madison, if he's available, and I don't know if Cook's injury.
He shouldn't be. There's no. I would be very if somebody
Yeah,
if
it's
he's
over
available.
90.
Yeah,
It's over
gonna be picked up.
90%.
Yeah. Receivers, I've got Emmanuel Sanders. You hit that, right? Hunter Renfro, if he's available, you might want to pick him up. Tim Patrick, he's been getting the targets, shares the last 2 games ever since Jared Judy went down. And then we talked about Christian Kirk. That's one of those guys that, like, hit or miss. But if you need a flex play, Christian Kirk could be your potential flex play. Tight end, we've got Dalton Schultz, Tyler Conklin. We just talked about those. And then the defensive streams I've got here are Saints defense versus the Giants.
Number 1 defense in fantasy right now, and they're still free agents in a lot of leagues.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's because of their week 2 performance. It was very surprising after seeing that amazing week 1 performance. A lot of people dropped him, and then they couldn't pick him up due to other reasons.
Yeah. So, and then the next one, Titans versus the Jets. And then last but not least, we've got Detroit versus the Bears.
Some favorable matchups on paper, so make them viable fantasy starting options. But yeah, those are good pickups. Look at those guys. Again, Chuba Hubbard probably headlines the list just because of the CMC injury for the short term, drop in. But there are a lot of valuable guys there as well. What else? Anything else that you guys want to touch on about this crazy week 3 we just had?
Nope. Seeing how we just reviewed every game, I can't really think of anything more.
Yeah. No, I think that kind of hits us home, guys. That's week 3 in a nutshell. I appreciate you guys sticking around. Next episode we'll record on Friday. It'll come out before Sunday's slate of games, obviously, but we're the only playbook. We are your one-stop shop for all things football. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.